Good afternoon, dear participants, and here I take the opportunity to welcome our resource person for this session. She has already joined us, and she is Dr. Arpita Kackar, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Psychology in Jai Narayan Vyas University, Jodhpur. I welcome ma'am to this session. Ma'am, can you unmute?
Thank you, Radha.
Yes, it's fine, ma'am. So I would like to give a short introduction of our resource person today to all the participants. Dr. Arpita Kackar is a certified mental health practitioner, and her specialization is in clinical psychology, and she has a teaching experience of more than 15 years. She has about 27 paper publications in both national as well as international journal, and she has constructed around 6 psychological tests to measure various domains of human behavior. So we're lucky to have her in this session today and to gain some insight from her in the next 2 hours, that she will be interacting with all the participants and sharing her knowledge in this field. So I heartily welcome Dr. Kackar to this faculty development program. And now I would like to hand over this session to her so that she can carry forward with her delivery. Welcome, ma'am, and please take over.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Aradhana, for such a warm introduction. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So I know it is a post-lunch session and it is the most difficult one. And it is quite similar to the topic which I'm going to discuss with you today. We are going to talk about problem solving and decision making. So I think the main problem which you are facing right now is to attend this post-lunch session, and you have to decide it because you have enrolled in this FDP. So it is a decision you have taken. It is to attend the session. So today we are going to talk about problem solving and decision making. So as in my introduction, Anuradha told that I'm a facilitator of psychology. Fine. So even I have a habit of starting my lecture by asking my audience, what do they think about psychology? What do they think psychology is all about? So can you unmute yourself in anybody or write in a chat box if you want to share your view? Because what I think is psychology is a subject which influences each and every domain, each and every aspect of whatever behavior we do. So even the problem solving and decision making, which we are going to discuss in the next 2 hours, somewhere we will see that psychology has influenced this problem solving and the decision making behavior. I'll try to bring a new perspective regarding these two topics. So if anybody wants to share their views regarding what do they think psychology is all about. If you people can unmute yourself, or you can write in the chat box. If anybody wants to share. Okay, fine. Let me start with it only. So what basically psychology is? Psychology is a science of mind and behavior. What we see is psychology is a science of mind and behavior. It includes a study of conscious and unconscious phenomena. Some of you people might even think that psychology is knowing another person's mind. It is a myth actually which goes on. If you learn psychology, you are able to predict the behavior of the other person, or you can even read the mind of the other person. So my dear friends, yes, psychology is the study of behavior. Behavior are basically about 2 types: overt behavior and covert. Yeah, Sandeep writes something. So behavior are basically of 2 types: overt behavior and covert behavior. Now, what is an overt behavior? Overt behavior is a behavior which is easily observable, which I can observe your body language, your facial expression, which are under your control. That is the overt behavior. Now, what exactly is a covert behavior? Covert behavior is basically the causal factor, the main causal factor which happens because of which overt behavior happens. It is all your mental processes. For example, now you are attending this post-lunch session of problem solving and decision making. Somewhere you feel like it's like you're feeling lazy and you're not enjoying the session. It's too early to say this, but you are not exactly enjoying the session. So this feeling of yours that if you're not enjoying the session, it is observable in your behavior. I can see in your facial expression, or if I can see in your body language, this becomes the underlying frustration. That was a covert behavior, and because of which I am able to see that the frustration is easily evident in your behavior. That is your overt behavior. So what exactly the definition of psychology is? Psychology is a study of higher mental processes. I repeat it again. Psychology is a study of higher mental processes. What does the word higher mental processes mean? Higher mental processes mean about cognition, study about cognition, study about perception, study about memory, study about emotion, study about imagination, study about reasoning. So I hope you people are getting it, and I'll clarify the meaning of each word. So what is a perception? What does the word perception means? Perception means whenever we have a sensation, whenever we see an object, and whatever meaning we give to that object, it is known as perception. Okay. Now, what is memory? Memory includes three aspects. That is encoding, storage, and retrieval. So, for example, in today's session, what I am teaching, what I'm trying to explain it to you, you encode it in a separate part of your brain that it is about problem solving, decision making. So that is your encoding, and you encode it with a ma'am from Jodhpur, ma'am from Rajasthan taught us that. That is a clue. So that is encoding. Storage. You store whatever the information I have given it to you, and then later in the life, if you want to retrieve it, later in the life, you want to share the information with some of your friends, you retrieve information. So exactly, memory encompasses of three aspects. That is the storage, encoding, and retrieval. The next thing next word which I specified was the imagination. Imagination is also a higher mental processes. It is somewhat related to creativity. And then the basic word which we are going to discuss, and upon which the two aspects which we are going to discuss depend, it is the cognition. So cognition, exactly the literal meaning of cognition is thinking, rethinking, thought process. So what is cognition exactly is? Cognition is a term which refers to the mental processes involved in gaining knowledge and comprehension. Now, this time, which part of your mental processes is activated right now? Your cognition part. Because of that part, you are gaining knowledge and comprehension. So basically, what I wanted you people to understand is that cognitive processes affect every aspect of our life, from learning new things, forming memories, and to problem solving and decision making. So this was the basic part, the basic crux, which I wanted you people to understand, that because of psychology, because of cognition, we are able to solve the problems and to make any decisions in our life. So before I start with introduction of my problem solving, I want you people to face a problem. Quickly grab a pencil and a paper if you can. Sir, can you please slide the slide again to the activity? Next slide, sir, please. Yeah. Thank you. I'll read the questions aloud, everyone. So what you do is on a paper, just mark the option. Either it's not at all, rarely, sometime, often, and very often. We'll calculate it afterwards. I read the questions aloud. Once I choose a solution, I develop an implementation plan with a sequence of events necessary for completion. If you believe it, you not at all, then A, B, yeah, you can write it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After a solution has been implemented, I immediately look for ways to improve the idea and avoid future problems. Third question, to avoid asking the wrong question, take care to define each problem carefully before trying to solve it. I hope your people are understanding the question. If there is any doubt, you can unmute yourself and ask me. I strive to look at problems from different perspectives and general multiple solutions. I try to understand the political issues and other consequences of the change I'm proposing so that others will understand and support my solution. I evaluate potential solution carefully and thoroughly against a predefined standard. Next slide, sir. Seventh question. I systematically, a slide before that. I systematically search for issues that may become problems in the future. When I decide on my solution, I make it happen, no matter what opposition I may face. I find that small problems become much bigger in scope and thus very difficult to solve. I ask myself a lot of questions about the nature of the problem. After my solution is implemented, I relax and focus again on my regular duties. While you are giving the answers, I just want to make it once. Please give honest answer. Don't give any social desirable answer. There are no right and wrong answer. Think carefully, then answer these questions, because after that, when you get the score, you will be able to evaluate yourself that are you a good problem solver or not. Please don't give social desirable answer, which is the main problem in the any kind of a psychological test which we do. Because nobody is going to see your answer, whatever kind of answer you have written or not. Anybody will ask you how much you have scored. I focus on keeping current operation running smoothly and hope that problems don't appear. Next slide, sir. I evaluate potential solutions as I think of them. When I need to find a solution to a problem, I usually have all of the information needed to solve it. When evaluating solutions, I take a time to think about how I should choose between options. Last question. Making a decision is the end of my problem-solving process. I hope everyone has filled the questionnaire. Now, what you can do is help you out to how to do scoring of the test. Not at all. If you have not at all, that is 1. Not at all stands for 1, ready for 2, sometimes for 3, often for 4, and very often for 5. So if any question you have opted for not at all, give a score of 1. If you have opted for rarely, give yourself a score of 2. If you have opted for some time, give yourself a score of 3. For often 4 and very often 5. And then you add up all the score of all the questions, 16 questions. You can unmute yourself or you can write in the chat box if you face any kind of difficulty. Has anyone had the scoring? We will be investing another 2-3 minutes in that. I'll start with again with my lecture. Okay, I'll share the Google form afterwards. Let's start with the lecture. Fine, we'll do it afterwards. Yeah, I'll share the Google form and then you can do it at the pace of your own. Now, as you all know and you face, problems are a part of our life. All of us face some kind of a problem at some point of our life or the other. Problems can be at your professional place. Problems can be at your personal life also. You may face problems with your co-worker. You may face problem with your authority. You may face problem with your siblings, with your friends, with your relatives, or with your spouse. Like everybody must be facing some other kind of a problem with a spouse. Now that problem we won't be including in this session. We will, because that is a problem which needs a lot of a deeper kind of an understanding, because there are many aspects involved in that. We'll try to solve the problem. I will try to have an overview of the professional side. Now, so basically what we see is that problems are everywhere and problem will persist. We need to understand that problem is a most efficient and effective way so that we are able to deal with problems more confidently and make ourselves a mature human being. So basically, what is problem all about? What is a problem? An unsolvable question, a question which needs to be solved. Something that is difficult to deal with, something that is a source of a trouble, that is something which is a source of trouble to you, is a problem. There is difficulty in understanding something. An intricate, unsettled question is called a problem. So in a technical sense, I'll say these lines very slowly, so try to understand it. In a technical sense, problem solving is a systematic approach. I repeat it again, the line, a systematic approach. Why I'm saying a systematic approach? Because you have to follow a certain sequence. Now, it is a systematic approach to define a problem, question, or a situation that presents uncertainty. There is uncertainty is there is a perplexity there, or a difficulty is there, and it creates a vast number of possible solutions, and you have to pick one of those solutions without judging the solution. So what is exactly a problem is? A problem is problem solving is a systematic approach. Firstly, you define a problem because it presents uncertainty to you, and then you create a vast number of solutions, and then you select one of the solution without judging the solution. So what is a human tendency? As soon as anybody says there's a problem, we always take problem in a negative sense. We are in the habit of taking problem in a negative way. Just imagine if there were no problem in our life, would we have been as we are? We would never change and would never grow in our experiences and life session and life lessons. See, everybody must be aware of the word stress, because these days we use the word stress quite often. Stress are basically about two types: eustress and distress. What is exactly a eustress? Eustress is a kind of a motivating force which energizes us to do work. जब तक आपको ये कोई नहीं कहता है कि कल आपका एग्जाम है और द एग्जाम्स आर फास्ट अप्रोचिंग, आप पढ़ाई स्टार्ट नहीं करते हैं. सो द टाइम टेबल or the notice which come that your exams are fast approaching, that work as a eustress, because that is the motivating force behind your work. Then the other part of the stress is a distress, because when the stress persists for a long time, it converts into distress. So similarly, problems are like eustress in your life. Unless there is a problem in your life, you won't work, your life won't change. हम आगे नहीं बढ़ेंगे, we won't grow. Now, another thing which you need to remember is problem do not solve automatically. ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा कि प्रॉब्लम कोई आई और वो अपने आप ही क्या हो गई, खत्म हो गई. You have to work on your problems to solve them. We have to really work on our problems to solve them. Okay, so what I want to make it clear here is you should not take problems always in a negative way. Problems help us to grow. Problems help us to evolve as a human being. Now, next part which I want to cover is problems have a positive value also. Okay. Now, let's take an example of COVID-19, the main problem which we have faced in the last 1.5 years, and we are facing to some extent till now. But now, if we see the positive side of COVID-19, can anybody would like, I would like more people to interact or more people to write in chat box so that I know that my audience is listening to me. Fine. Because I'm a teacher, I'm in the habit of getting a good response from my students. Okay, see, so if we see the positive side of the COVID-19, it has taught us so many things. We have learned the importance of family, isn't it? We have learned the importance of good health. We know that no matter how rich we are, money won't buy us health. We have seen so many near and dear ones going, no matter how filthy rich they were. So majority of us, because of this COVID-19, have started focusing and have started investing lot of energy on our physical health. We have started practicing yoga, meditation, or any other kind of an alternative therapy. So what I want to say here is problem is there. Problem will always be there, problem will persist, but we need to see the positive side of the problem. Now we will discuss some of the skills used in problem solving. Everybody know that for everything you need some skill. So now, online presence, and we saved our time, money, energy, right? Exactly. So the first skill used in problem solving is a skill of judgment. Now, exactly what is judgment? It is that sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we have to decide basically what is right and what is wrong for us. So the power of judgment needs to be very strong if you want to solve a problem. See, later in my lecture, I would differentiate between the three words: judgment, problem solving, and decision making. Gradually, as we move forward, you will be able to differentiate between these three words. That is a judgment and problem solving and decision making. The next skill which we need to solve a problem is an analytical skill. What do I mean by the word analytical skill? Analytical skill is an ability to deconstruct the information into smaller categories. We have a bunch of information before us. Now, what we do is we deconstruct the information into smaller categories to draw conclusions. It is to draw conclusions. It includes logical reasoning, critical thinking, communication, research, data analysis. It is more of on the data analytical part where you categorize all the kind of information. Next part, the third skill. What was the first skill? First skill was judgment. Second skill was analytical skill. And the third skill, which we are going to talk about, it is a decision making. Now, just listen to it very carefully. Decision making is a part of problem solving. Problem solving is a broader concept and decision making is a part of the problem solving. It is a process and not a method. Decision making क्या है problem solving का? It is a process and not a method. Making decisions is a part of problem solving. Decision making is something we are going to cover in the later part of the lecture, so I won't invest much of time here. Now, as I told you in the initial part of my lecture, psychology is present everywhere. Okay. Now, because you are all professionals in your field and you all have a good decision-making power. What I want to emphasize is that decision-making somewhere depends upon the parenting style, upon the parenting which we had in our childhood. See, what we say in the developmental psychology says that the major part of a personality develops in the earlier childhood. So today, what the personality which we're reading was an exaggerated part which was made earlier in childhood. Now, basically what we see is that there are 5 types of parenting. Okay, so the kind of parenting style, the kind of upbringing which our parents give, upbringing not in the socioeconomic status, the upbringing which the parents give us, help us to develop the decision making and the problem solving skill. The first kind of parenting which I'm going to talk about is the authoritarian parents. I assume that most of the participants here must be in the age range of plus 25, not less than that, 25 to 40, whatsoever. The upper limit can be of anything. So authoritarian parents. Now, who are the authoritarian parents? They use a strict disciplinarian style. Now, the authoritarian parents used to be in the, say, in the age of 40s and 50s. हमारे parents के जो parents थे, वो कौन से parents थे? Authoritarian parents, जहाँ पे communication कैसा था? One way. They used to give the instruction and our parents had to follow the instruction. Communication two way नहीं था. इसीलिए कई बार situations ऐसी आती हैं कि those children जहाँ पे communication one way था, they just had to follow the instruction. They don't become a very good decision maker early in their life because for everything they are dependent upon their parents. Now, the second type of parenting which I discuss here is a permissive parents. Permissive parents or the indulgent parents, जो आज के parents हैं, जो बहुत friendly हैं. They indulge most of the time in the children. They offer limited guidance limited guidance. आपकी guidance है. They give guidance to the children, but they let their children decide what is good or what is bad for them. The final decision is in the hand of the parent, but yet they give the liberty to the child to communicate his own feelings and emotion. They let the children figure out their own problem, though they help in the decision making, no doubt, but in a way, they are making the child independent. The third kind of parenting is authoritative parenting, which we consider as the best type of parenting. Such parents set clear and consistent rules and boundaries. जिसको हम कहते हैं, you give freedom, but freedom with limits. They listen to input from their children. They are the one who help in the development of the decision-making skill. Now, a strange kind of parenting I'm going to discuss with you is the helicopter parenting. Have you ever heard this word, helicopter parenting? You know what a helicopter is? Helicopter keeps on hovering around at a place. So the parents today, आज के जो one child वाले जो parents हैं, the new parents, वो कैसे parents हैं? Helicopter parents. Their life revolves around their child. They are the one who control each and every aspect of the child, from what they eat to what they do in their free time. किसके साथ friendship करनी है, कौन सी classes join करनी है. Everything is decided by their parents. So here I am discussing this is because everything is decided by the parent. They do not allow children to develop a decision making or a problem solving skill. The child is totally dependent for everything on the parent. So this is because why we see a lot of depression cases these days, a lot of young suicide cases these days, it is one of the major reasons. See, my dear friends, I am explaining it to you again is because the parents do not give a room, parents do not give a platform where children can learn how to make a decision. And when they really move in the real life situation, kahin job ke liye ja rahe hain, kahin bahar padhai karne ja rahe hain, when the parent is not everywhere around and they have to take some major decisions in their life and they feel they are incapable of it, they face depression. So one of the major reason of depression is a helicopter parenting. And other type of parenting, which I'll discuss, it is an uninvolved parenting. Uninvolved, helicopter parent, pura time, the helicopter parent was totally involved in the child. Uninvolved parent do not give time nor affection to the child because of the materialistic thing because they are so busy in earning the bread and butter, both ends meet. They do not give so much of time which really a child needs to enhance his own personality. But one thing I'll make it again clear is the uninvolved parenting, because the child does not have anybody around who can help him to who can make decision on his behalf. The child himself learn gradually to take decisions, though the decision might be wrong. वो गलत डिसीजन ले सकता है क्योंकि उसके अंदर अभी इतनी अवेयरनेस नहीं है, इतना इंसाइट उसके अंदर डेवलप नहीं है, बट येट द चाइल्ड लर्न्स हाउ टू टेक अ डिसीजन. ओके, सो जितने भी सोशियोपैथ्स हैं जो गलत डिसीजन, जो गलत डायरेक्शन ले लिया लाइफ में, वो अनइन्वॉल्व की हो रहे हैं. एंड हेलीकॉप्टर पेरेंटिंग की कौन सी हो रहे हैं? द चिल्ड्रन हु फेस डिप्रेशन बिकॉज दे फील दे आर इनकैपेबल of taking decision. If anybody wants to ask any question from here, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll move ahead. I hope you people are getting it and you are getting a new way of understanding a problem solving is what all about, isn't it? I assume it actually because I teach positive psychology, so I take everything in a positive way and I'm assuming that you people are able to understand it. Chaliye. So the first skill which I talked about was a judgment. Second skill which I talked about with you was the analytical skill. Third was a decision-making skill, and the decision-making skill I told you about the 5 parenting style: the authoritarian parents, the permissive parents, the authoritative parents, helicopter parents, and uninvolved parents. Now, the next skill which we are going to talk about is a skill to collect information and planning. So if you want to solve problem, you should know all the aspects of the problem. You should collect information regarding your problem from all aspects and then plan how to solve a problem. जैसे कि हम कहते हैं, a coin has two coin के क्या होते हैं? There are 2 faces. So you should understand both the faces. You should not solve the problem by looking at only the one face. Now, if I talked about some of these skills. Sir, can you change the slide, please? Though there are some skills required in problem solving and certain next slide, sir. Again, next. Again, next. Yeah. So, though there are some skills required in problem solving, which is slide में हम देख सकते हैं, making judgment, analytical skill, decision making, planning, and collecting information. Now, these are the skills which we need to solve a problem. But even though we have some skills, these skills, there are certain barriers. There are certain barriers and challenges, okay, which stop us from solving the problem. So let's talk about those. First barrier is a failure to recognize a problem. What's the first barrier? The failure to recognize a problem. It means that a person may live in a complete delusion that problems do not exist. I hope you people know the word of a delusion. Delusion, by the word delusion, we means a belief system. And it is a false belief system. So I might live in a delusion that they do not exist a problem. एक सिंपल सा जैसे कि हमारा वो है कि अगर कबूतर आंख बंद कर ले तो क्या बिल्ली उसको नहीं खाएगी, है ना? तो कबूतर एक डिल्यूजन के अंदर है कि बिल्ली मुझे नहीं खाएगी, बट इट डजंट हैपन. तो प्रॉब्लम वहां पर है, लेकिन वी आर not able to recognize that the problem persists. Now, I'll explain it with an example. और वो example हमारा हर barrier में carry forward होगा. For example, there is a family. In a family, there are grandparents, parents, and a child, and a young child. Now, the young child has some behavioral problems. Okay, he is disobedient and disobedient. So now the school teacher has all sort of complaints for the student, for the child behavior. Even the child does not behave so good with the parents. So now the parents are able to understand that there is some kind of a behavioral problem with the child, and the child needs to be taken to the counselor. So parents are able to recognize a problem, but the grandparents who really love the grandchild, they see that during this age, children usually behave in this manner, and क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ going to a counselor is considered as a taboo. People can go to a physician and for any physical checkup, but going to a psychologist is considered as a taboo. So the grandparents think that there is no such problem with the child. The child really needs some more time and affection of the parents, and then his behavior will be fine. So here, what the grandparents are doing is the grandparents are getting failure to recognize the problem. So the second barrier is a functional fixedness. So what the first barrier was? The first barrier is the failure to recognize a problem. The second barrier is functional fixedness. Functional fixedness का मतलब क्या है? Mental set. It is a special type of mental set that occurs when you approach a problem in a particular way. For example, ज़्यादातर जब हमारा phone hang हो रहा है, so what we do is we switch off the phone and we restart it, और phone वापस से काम करना start हो जाएगा, because this जो ये हमारी approach है, ये जब भी हमारा phone hang हुआ, हमने उसको switch off करा and the phone started again. The phone started working again. So it is a mental set. Because हमारा first experience कैसा था? We got success. या अब तो आजकल वो scooters होते ही नहीं है. Once I remember, बजाज scooters हुआ करते थे, and whenever the scooter won't start, उसको टेढ़ा करा जाता था, and the scooter could start. या scooter start नहीं हो रहा था, everybody used to say इसको टेढ़ा कर लो, just till the scooter. So what here it is a mental set कि जिस तरीके से किसी problem को पहले solve किया था, उसी ही अप्रोच से उसको वापस से वैसे ही सॉल्व करा जाए तो हमें क्या मिलेगा? सक्सेस मिल जाएगा. Now, if I come again to the above example, here grandparents say that because grandparents ने उनके बच्चों ने भी, their children also must have behaved in the same way. उन्होंने क्या किया था? उन्होंने more time दिया था या more affection दिया था उनको, so they thought उनको उस समय सक्सेस मिला था. The child behavior was corrected. So they think that if you want to correct the behavior of the child right now also, just give the child more time and affection, the behavior of the child will be fine. So it is called the functional fixedness. We have a mental set to solve a problem. Now the third barrier is the hasty choice. Now what we do is, whenever any problem arises, we take a hasty choice. We take a decision. We try to solve a problem in a hurry. No matter after that we may regret it कि हमने ये ऐसी problem solve क्यों किया था, but we do it. Now in this case, because what the father does is, because he just wanted to end up the problem, he sends the child to a boarding school. Now that was a hasty decision. Okay. So what was the first barrier? I'll repeat it again. What was the first barrier? Failure to recognize a problem. Second barrier, functional fixedness. And third barrier is the hasty choice. Now the fourth barrier is to failure to consider all consequences. Now the father just wanted to end the everyday discussions, everyday series of complaints, both from the mother, both from the school. So he sent the child to the boarding. And it was a hasty choice. Now here, he failed to consider all the consequences which might happen. Consequences kya ho gaye? Maybe the grandparents go into depression because sending their only grandchild is a big issue for them. Mother was not able to take it a positive way, and above all, the child who was behaving disobediently might behave in a violent manner, or he may go into depression. So without considering all the consequences which would happen if you take a hasty choice, that is also one of the most difficult barrier. Fine. So till now, I hope you people must be understanding what I am trying to present to you. Now, one line, a very important thing, which again, we would spend some time. Albert Einstein once said that it is not that I am so smart. It is just that I stay with my problems longer. It is not just that I am so smart. Albert Einstein, the Nobel laureate, he said that it is just not that I am so smart. I stay with my problems longer. Now, it is other way around for us. Usually, what we do, we define a problem in a very short span of time. As soon as we face a problem, in a haste, we define a problem. 10% of our time we invest in defining a problem, and 90% of our time we invest in finding a solution of the problem. It should be other way around. If you spend a lot of time in understanding the problem, understanding all the aspects of the problem, then automatically the solution becomes easier for us. But what we do is, in a haste, we define the problem and we try to find out the solution. For example, if you give any kind of a competitive exam, there are multiple choices and a question comes. Sometimes what we do is we read the question in such a hurry without understanding what really the question means. Okay. So, and we try to find out isme se kaun sa solution hoga. We try to eliminate all those not possible answers. But what should have been the real approach is we read the question again and again, understand what the examiner wants us to understand, and then give the answer. Then it is the right way to solve the problem. Now, so these were all the barriers which we talked about. Now we are going to discuss Now we are going to start with the problem solving process. So next slide, please show kar dijiye. Okay. Now you have accepted that the problem is there. Okay, acceptance aa gayi that a problem persists in your life. Now, firstly, you have to list the benefits of accepting that there is a problem. First is you have to list the benefits of accepting that there is a problem. Now, this is a contradictory statement, isn't it? You may say that you're discussing about problem, and now ma'am is saying to list out its benefit. How can a problem have some benefits? No, but what I'm saying here is even problem have some benefits in our life. Yeah, I'm going to share all these points with a example later on. So just listen to me. So for what we problem solving process says, firstly, we have to list the benefits that there is a problem. After listing the benefits, the next step is to formalize your acceptance or accept responsibility of life. What I'm saying is formalize your acceptance or accept responsibility for life. You should accept your need to walk around the present situation. You should accept the responsibility that you really need to work upon this problem. This is your responsibility. The next step is a worst case scenario. This will always help you even if you solve the problem or even if you don't solve the problem. Trust me, this point will always help you. And lastly, you should identify what is holding you back. Why are you not solving the problem? What are the things which because of which you are not able to solve the problem? Now, I will explain these 4 steps with an example. So what was the first thing I said? It was listing the benefits. Second, I said, formalize your acceptance or accept responsibility of your life. Thirdly, I told you, imagine a worst case scenario. And the fourth, what is holding you back? Now, let us imagine, take an example. Last March 2020, when we were all confronted with a sudden lockdown, because we were all, I assume that you people are all teachers. We did not know for how long the situation would carry on or when this would end. So because of the lockdown, now at that time, most of the universities or colleges had finished with their final end semester exam. So nothing was of much worry, and we didn't even knew. And we thought after some time, everything will be fine and life would be back to normal. So we took that lockdown as a break, and we thought when the new session would start, we would definitely go to our universities and colleges once again and start the regular mode of teaching. Now, as when May and June was in the month of May and June, when the situation was getting more worse day by day, then we had to accept that now we had to accept the online mode of teaching. Then for the first time, we accepted this online mode of teaching. Now, the problem was, because most of us, we were not very, I hope for everybody, it was a new thing. Online mode of teaching was for most of us was a new thing. So at least people of my generation, even I keep myself, until today, it is one of the most difficult things for me. Now, the problem is defining is how to teach online. Problem kya ho gayi hamari? Online mode of teaching. Now, for the first step kya hai? Listing the benefits of online mode of teaching. Do you think there are any benefits of online mode of teaching? Yes, they are. We can teach at the comfort of our house, isn't it? Secondly, there is no loss of students' learning process because even sitting at home during the lockdown also, the classes were going regular. Thirdly, no traveling, no petrol expenses. Then, because of the recorded lecture, that the child can revisit the lecture as many times as possible. So if we start listing the benefits of online mode of teaching, there are many. So firstly, the problem was online mode of teaching. Now we listed the online mode of teaching. There are n number of benefits. Now the next step was to formalize our acceptance or accept responsibility for life. In this case, we all accepted that COVID-19 is not going to end soon, and we must all learn a new normal way of life. So as a teacher, it was my moral responsibility that students should not get distracted and the academic year should continue with no loss of student learning. So all of us accepted the reality and accepted that online mode of teaching will be the best for all of us. Okay, so first, what was the problem? Online mode. Then we listed the benefits of online mode of teaching. Then we accepted the moral responsibility. No teacher, I suppose किसी भी टीचर ने मना नहीं करा कि हम ऑनलाइन मोड ऑफ टीचिंग नहीं पढ़ाएंगे, क्योंकि we accepted all it as a moral responsibility. Now, with acceptance came the worst case scenario. Third क्या था? We have to imagine the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, in the case of the students, we knew that students in our universities and colleges come from various socio-economic strata, and proper access to digital media is not possible for everyone. Now, in the case of they have siblings, for the parents, it was so difficult to give separate mobile and laptops and with a huge internet data to each and every child so that they could attend the online classes. So it was a worst case scenario in the case of the student. Even as far as teacher, even the students did not have the habit of learning online. Classroom discussion, peer group learning, they were missing all this, and this was affecting the rate of learning. The most importantly was imagining what was holding us back. First was listing the benefits. Second was accepting the moral responsibility. What was the third one? Third was the worst case scenario. And fourth was holding us back. Now, you would all agree with me that while teaching, if I talk about myself, while teaching, we are not in the habit of looking at ourselves just as we do in the case of the mirror. As a teacher, we may have strange facial expressions, everything. But now when I am teaching on an online mode, and this camera was the biggest issue. Okay, so we got distracted. Even if I talk about myself, in the initial, during the last year, in the initial time of online teaching, I used to get distracted by myself only. क्योंकि वहां पे आप खुद अपने आप को देख रहे हो by making strange facial expressions while teaching. Okay, now assessing online platforms like Google platform, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, whatever kind of platform you are using, accessing to those was a difficult one. Even in our university, we had an orientation program for the teachers where we were taught to use all these platforms. And the worst case scenario, holding us back till today is how to show my PPT even today. And see, even today, I have taken the help of the technical team to show my PPT, because this is the main thing which holds me back today for the online, any online lecture of mine. So this is all we talk about the problem solving. The major part I want to cover is about the decision making. I hope I am able to clear. Can I get a few feedback, please? Prerna says yes. Thank you, Prerna. Feedback is very important. Feedback is very important for the teacher. I hope you people understand. And teaching on this online platform where everybody has, they are not showing their videos, everybody's videos closed. I mean, teaching to a blackboard is very, very difficult, you know. Because for the last 15 to 17 years, I'm teaching. I always like to teach the physical audience, the audience who is present in front of me. At least I can see their faces. You get a feedback. Unke facial expression, you understand that your audience is enjoying. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. So now we'll come up to the second part of our topic, that is decision making. प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग हो गया, प्रॉब्लम्स हमने सॉल्व कर ली, अब हम थोड़ा सा डिसाइड कर लेते हैं कि हमें करना क्या है. ओके, नाउ जैसा मैंने प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग के समय आप लोगों को थोड़ा सा पेरेंटिंग बताया था ना, हियर बिकॉज आई एम फ्रॉम साइकोलॉजी फील्ड, अगेन आई एम गोइंग टू एक्सप्लेन इट टू यू व्हाई इट इज एसेंशियल फॉर अ ह्यूमन बीइंग टू डू डिसीजन मेकिंग. Why it is essential. हम किसी भी चीज को बीच में क्यों नहीं छोड़ देते हैं? Why हम डिसीजन क्यों लेते हैं लाइफ में? Why it is important to us. Now listen. As a human being, okay, as a human being, we are in the habit of living in the state of homeostasis. By homeostasis, I mean balance, both in the physiological sense and even in the psychological sense. For example, in the physiological sense, I feel thirsty. Some chemical imbalance is there. Because of chemical imbalance, I am feeling thirsty. So जैसे ही मुझे प्यास लगेगी, जैसे ही I would feel thirsty, थोड़ा मेरी बॉडी के अंदर क्या होएगा? डिस्कम्फर्ट होएगा. और डिस्कम्फर्ट होते ही I would seek to go and drink water. Just as soon as I drink water, मेरी बॉडी में वापस से क्या आ जाएगा? बैलेंस आ जाएगा. And the moment I gain balance, I feel good. मुझे क्या मिलेगा? इंसेंटिव मिलेगा या रिवॉर्ड मिलेगा, उसको हम रिवॉर्ड बोलते हैं, एंड आई फील गुड. सो दिस इज मेंटेनिंग द फिजियोलॉजिकल बैलेंस इन योर बॉडी. ओके, हमने वापस से क्या मिल गया? हमें होमियोस्टेसिस मिल गया. सिमिलर, मुझे भूख लगी, I'll go and grab a bite of a sandwich or something. Again, मुझे क्या हो जाएगा? I'll feel good. Homeostasis मिल गया. Now, as a psychological balance, जैसे ही हमारे अंदर psychological balance disturb होता है, there are two opposing thoughts in us. A disbalance is there. जैसे ही two opposing thoughts आएंगे, there is a condition called cognitive dissonance. I repeat it again. What is the condition? It is the cognitive dissonance. Cognitive, I told you in the initial part of my lecture, cognition is the thought. So वो thought जैसे ही हमारे disturb हो रहे हैं, what does the condition arises? Cognitive dissonance. So again to उस dissonance को कम करने के लिए, उस dissonance को खत्म करने के लिए, to end this dissonance, हमें क्या लेना पड़ेगा? कुछ decision लेना पड़ेगा. Now, take us an example. We'll take an example. There are three friends, A, B, and C, who are very close friends. Okay. And they enjoyed their company very much. Whenever three of them together, they used to have a blast of time. Now, A is a friend of B, A is a friend of C, B is a friend of A, and B is a friend of C. All three of them are friends together. Now, because of some reason, B is not friend with C now. कुछ issue, कुछ problems हो गई, जिनके कारण B is not friend with C now. B and C की friendship क्या हो गई है? टूट गई है. ठीक है? But A is still friend with B and A is still friend with C. Okay. Now, whenever three of them are together, जब भी तीनों जने साथ में होंगे, so A is in the state of discomfort. A is in a state of dissonance. B से बात करे, B से बात करता है तो C को बुरा लगता है, C से बात करता है तो B को बुरा लगता है, तो he is in a state of discomfort. A dissonance की state में A की अब क्या करे? So, to end that dissonance, he has to choose between the three decisions. Either he ends friendship with both A and C. Second, he ends friendship with B and keep his friendship with C. Or either he ends friendship with C and keep his friendship with B. कुछ ना कुछ उसको इन तीनों choices में से कुछ choose करना ही पड़ेगा, so that वो अपने dissonance को क्या कर सकता है? He ends his dissonance. Am I right? Okay. So the choices he has to opt. In choices में से जो उसको opt करना पड़ेगा, this is known as decision making. So what I am trying to explain to you here is decision making is important to us psychologically, because only then we can end the dissonance here. अगर हम अपने dissonance को खत्म नहीं करेंगे, then the cycle of maladjustment start. We are in the state of frustration. Frustration से हम किसके state में आएंगे? Conflict. Conflicts again in the state of anxiety. Anxiety से हम किसके state में आएंगे? Stress में. So the cycle of maladjustment start, and it may turn into serious pathological psychopathological issues के अंदर वो convert हो सकता है. So before we end up in any psychopathological issue, we have to take a decision. So that's why we say the habit of procrastination is not a good habit. Whatever you have to do, decide it. करना है या नहीं करना है, yes or no. In the back, क्योंकि वो back of the mind में it will drain out all your energy. Temporarily आपको ऐसा लग रहा है कि आपने उस issue को क्या कर लिया, थोड़ी टाइम के लिए पीछे डाल दिया है, but somewhere deep in your mind, back of the mind, that will hit you again and again. So it is good. Psychologically, it is a very good habit कि जो आपको choose करना है, you should choose it once you have evaluated all the other options. Fine. So this was the importance of psychologically, what is the importance of decision making. Now, the next thing which I'm going to cover here is so decision making exactly is when you have to choose between various options. That portion is known as decision making. You go to a friend's place, your friends offer tea, coffee, cold drink. Now you have to choose among the three. Chai lenge, coffee lenge, ya cold drink लेंगे, you have to choose. So that's a simplest decision. Or if he doesn't offer you anything, he just comes with a glass of water. That is the best. You don't have to decide anything. Okay, fine. Now, I told you in the initial section that I would be telling you the difference between problem solving and decision making. So, right, I'll explain to you what is a basic difference between problem solving and decision making, and then we'll start with the process of decision making. For example, there is a teacher in the class. I take my example. There's a teacher in the class, and the teacher and I'm teaching something. I'm teaching clinical psychology, for example. Okay, I have started with my topic, and I'm teaching teaching the students. What I observe is there are a couple of students who are distracting the class. They are not studying, and even they're not allowing others to study. And in a way, they're distracting me also. They are distracting the class. They are not allowing the others to study. So as a teacher, I need to solve this issue. I need to solve this problem. So what I do is I ask the students to leave the class. Okay, so that others can concentrate and others can study. Now, as a teacher, because of my experience, I know that whenever a student comes late in the class, after I have started with a topic, and the child is not able to understand what ma'am is teaching, what topic is going on, because he is not able to concentrate, he distracts the others. Over time of experience, I have gained so much of knowledge. So what I decide is, I make a decision. I decide is, I tell student that once I enter the class, once I have started teaching my topic, I won't allow anyone to enter the class. So that is my decision making. Problem solving was what was problem solving? Just to end that distraction, I asked those couple of students to leave the class. Decision making is long term, so that आगे भी कभी भी क्लास में कोई डिस्टर्बेंस ना हो. And problem solving was for just that particular class where I was being disturbed by those couple of students. Got it? I hope you are able to understand the difference between problem solving and decision making. So problem solving, हमने उस छोटी सी प्रॉब्लम को, उस छोटे से इश्यू को क्या करा, just by taking, हमने उनको क्या करा, we expel them out, उसको बाहर निकाला. And decision making is so that in near future, आगे भी मुझे कभी ना कोई problem हो, I take a decision that I will not allow any student to enter the class once I have started teaching my topic. So this is so this is, we are talking about the decision making. Okay, so in both cases, students are being expelled from class, but one is a solution of the problem, which is done by being which is done by the analytical aspect of the thinking, and other with the course of experience. So in simple words, we can say that decision making come into picture when we have choices before us, and we have to choose among them. Okay? Like for deciding what to wear today, red or pink, it is a decision where when we have to go for the university or to the college and opening a wardrobe and deciding, oh God, what to wear today. So there are many kind of decisions we have to make. Some are easy decisions and some are difficult decisions in a life. Now, easy decisions, for example, which color to wear, whether to go for a lunch party today or not, whether to attend this party or not. These are an easy decision. What to cook or not. Is it a difficult or the easy decision? Most people would agree that it is the most difficult decision what to cook today in lunch or dinner. And there are some difficult decisions: getting married, having the right time to have a child, changing of a job. These are all the difficult decisions. Now, in this part of my lecture, I would tell you some of the procedures and some of the techniques of decision making. So can you change the slide, please? Next, please. नेक्स्ट प्लीज सर, इसको आप आगे कर दें प्लीज. नेक्स्ट. Next, sir. Next, sir. You are going in a ascending order, में increasing order. Next. इसको आप आगे कर दें. Next और आगे. Yeah. Okay. As I had this decision-making questionnaire for you, but I'll share with you the Google form afterwards, so that becomes easier for you people to fill the form, and then we can. I'll tell you the scoring pattern. You can score it your own, and then you can evaluate yourself that whether you are a good problem solver or a good decision maker or a not. So next slide और आगे change कर दें. So what what here we are talking about is, while we make decision, we fall into certain personal trap. कभी अपने खुद के we fall into certain personal traps, and we fall, and it becomes very difficult for us to take a decision. Now, there are certain personal traps, and we'll discuss all these personal traps one by one. The first personal trap is the failure or a tendency to play safe. हमारे लिए decision making इतना difficult क्यों होता है? Why it is so difficult for us to take a decision? Because we all have a tendency to play safe. Usually, we are not risk takers. For example, take us an example of a stock market or a share market. Everybody knows that if we invest our money in a share market, I mean, we hear people that they earn a good profit. But if I put myself in the same case, it will not be easy for me to take even I will think it is my hard-earned money. कैसे लगा दें? अगर सारा मेरा पैसा चला गया तो I will have this thought in my mind. But agar if I won't have this thought in my mind and I invest my money, maybe I would have earned a good profit. So decision making becomes difficult for us because we are in the habit of playing safe. We don't want to take the risk. The people who are not the people who do not play safe. The people who are risk takers, they take prompt decision. They invest money when it is the right. I mean, I don't know the details of the share market, but they know when is the right time to invest the money, and they do at the particular time, and maybe they earn some good profit. So what is one of the personal traps because of which we do not make decision? First is the tendency to play safe. Now, second is that we all have certain emotions and feelings towards a particular situation. And you know that our behavior somewhere is determined by our emotions and feelings. The kind of emotions and feelings which we have, because of those emotions and feelings, our behavior is determined because of those feelings. Now, in this situation, also decision making is difficult. Okay. Now, for example, now please do take it advice. I am not intending or any specific example. It is just a hypothetical example. Okay. A teacher has a particular kind of a feeling or an emotion towards a particular level or a particular class. Now in class, he has to make a decision for or against for a student of that particular or a religion. For that teacher, decide for or against for that particular child who belongs to that religion becomes very difficult because his values and his emotions are attached to that religion. Now, getting lost in the trivial matter. Sometimes हम जो बड़ी चीजें हैं, Sometimes we don't focus on the big things and we are get engrossed ourselves in trivial matters. Thirdly, getting lost in the trivial matters, then focusing on the broad spectrum can be a personal trap. छोटी-छोटी बातों पे we invest time and energy on the smaller things rather than focusing on the big things which really need our attention. Actually, what we're doing is, I mentioned in the previous example, we are shifting from decision making to problem solving. वहां पे टीचर ने क्या किया था? The teacher expelled. The teacher asked those students to go out of the class because the teacher wanted silence to be maintained in the class, and the teacher wanted to make the children learn the particular topic. So for that particular issue, he asked those students to leave the class. So if we focus more on trivial issues rather than focusing on the big things, we are focusing on the problem solving rather than on the decision making. Now, the next thing is, एक human tendency है. We have human tendency that we want everyone to be happy. We want कि हमसे सब लोग खुश रहें. We want everyone to keep everyone happy. But is it possible? No. Isn't it? It is not possible to keep everyone happy with your decision. So because in psychology, we emphasize upon individual differences, even at the professional front, we cannot make all our authorities happy. And similar situation is with our co-workers or colleagues also. And similar situation is at your home front also. If one sibling is happy with you, the other might won't. If the husband is happy with you, the mother-in-law won't. If the mother-in-law is happy, the father-in-law won't. So it is very difficult कि आपसे सारे जितने भी areas हैं, जितने भी domains हैं, they are at peace. Peace का मतलब यहाँ पे what I'm saying is they are satisfied with your decision. Showing the tendency. Now this is a very psychologically we say that it is not a good personality trait. Showing the tendency of making everybody happy is also a trap, which is a kind of obstacle in decision making. So next is, overwhelmed by emotional factors, we make a decision which is outside our realm of authority. Sometimes, because there are certain decisions, maybe in the professional field and also in the personal field, which is in the realm of our authority. If it is in the case of our authority, then only we decide, otherwise we don't. So if we take a decision which is outside the realm of our authority, then we have to face the repercussion. For example, we take a hypothetical example. The parents are not at home and there are two brothers and sisters. The elder sister. Now, the brother wants to go for a stayover at a friend's place. Because the parents are not at home, the elder sister thinks that because the brother asked permission from the sister, the elder sister overwhelmed कि मेरे से brother जो है वो permission मांग रहा है, overwhelmed, the sister gives permission to the brother that he can go and stay over with the friends. Now, when the parents come, the parents are angry and the sister has to face the repercussion. Now, where was the sister wrong? Because ये उसके realm of authority में नहीं था. What should she should have done? She would have called the parent and asked him that the brother is asking the permission. So sometimes, because we are overwhelmed by certain feelings, certain emotional factors, and we take decision which is against the realm of our authority. Fine. So these are the personal traps. So I repeat it again, all the personal traps. The first personal trap which we talked about was the taking the risk. Taking risk. Second was the emotions and feelings attached towards a particular situation. Third was getting lost in trivial matters. Then making everyone happy, the mindset of making everyone happy. And lastly, overwhelmed by emotional factors, we make a decision which is outside our realm of authority. Fine. So slide change. Please change the slide. If anybody wants to ask anything till now, I'll take 2 minutes break. See, the slide says decision making is a process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative resolution. So there are three aspects involved: decisions, action, and consequences. We must always remember the fact that whatever decision we make, every decision has a consequence. हर decision का क्या होगा? Consequence होगा. Every decision has a result. So whatever we do, we have to take into mind. Now, this is the most important part of the decision-making process. There are any
By your permission, ma'am, I am asking Shantanu
any
Basu from
short-term decision making can ever happen or not.
Shantanu Basu
Yeah.
from Calcutta Institute of Technology, Kolkata.
Yeah,
It's my
sir.
question. Any short-term decision making can happen or not?
Short-term decisions do happen. Short-term decisions do happen. It depends upon the kind of the alternative or the choices which you have right now before you. For example, I gave you the example of a tea, coffee, or a water. There are certain trivial things for which you have to decide. For that thing, short-term decisions do happen. But decision making usually happen for the long term. Short-term things happen for the problem solving. And for the long term, decision making happens. Right?
I mean, in that case, decision making and for short term, more or less decision making and the problem solving is more or less the same thing. And in the long term cases, the differences would actually appear significantly. Significant differences are there.
Significant difference is there, exactly, sir. For the short term, it is a problem solving, and for the long term, it is a decision making.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now we will talk about the 6 C's which are involved. C for cat. So slide change, kar dein, please. Please change the slide. Yeah. Before that, I'll explain this to you. Before the final decision comes, these are the basic questions we have to decide. We have to answer for ourselves. All the interrogatives: what, how, why, where, when, and who. If you answer all these questions, all the interrogatives in the proper manner, then only you can reach the final decisions. Right? So slide change. Please change the slide. Change the slide, sir. Yeah. Now see it carefully. These are the 6 C's of decision making. The first C says, construct a clear picture of precisely what must be decided. Now what we do is sometimes we don't even know decision lena kya hai. What thing we have to decide. So the first C says that it means that you should know exactly what kind of decision you want to make. Most of the time, we are not even clear about the objective of a decision. So it is essential to have clarity in mind about the object or the situation you want to take. I'll explain to you the 6 C's, and then I will explain to you with an example so that it becomes very much clear. The second C is compile a list of requirements that must be met. I mean, in the compile means, it means listing down all the kind of expectations and the requirements that must be collected while making a decision. The third C stands for to collect information or alternative that meet the requirement. Fourthly, compare alternatives that meet the requirement. Then consider what might go wrong, factor with alternative, and finally, to commit to a decision and follow through it. These are the C's of the effective decision making. Now, I'm going to explain these C's with an example, right? Now, say for example, you have thought in mind to buy a car. You want to buy a car for yourself. So now you have to decide what kind of car you want to buy. Now, the first step, what kind of car you want to buy. So the first step is to define what kind of car you want to buy, whether it is a hatchback or an SUV or whatsoever. Okay, so the first C is to construct is you decide what kind of car you want to buy. So the first you have completed, you have decided you want to buy a hatchback car, or you want to buy a SUV, and you finalize a budget for yourself. Suppose, for example, I want to buy an SUV within a budget of 15 lakh rupees. So the first C of my decision making is construct. Now the second C is compile. Now second C is to collect information, all sort of compilation. So I will go to market, search online models जो भी मेरे 15 lakh budget में आ रहे हैं. I'll compile all sort of requirement for myself, whether I want to buy a automated one or a manual transition one, a petrol vehicle or a diesel vehicle. A 5-window vehicle. So these are all the list of requirement I will set for myself. Now the third is to collect information. I go to online, I'll search online, I'll go to the physical, to the showrooms, take a test drive, collect information. 15 lakh budget mein, these are all the brands which are providing me with a SUV car. So once you have collected information, alternative that meet the requirement, now you start comparing the alternative. I list down all the major brands. These are from Maruti, these are from Hyundai, these are from the Tata. All these are these types of SUV which are provided by them. So I compare all these alternatives. Now the fifth point is consider what might go wrong factor with each alternative. I'll try to filter out which is the best alternative for me. Okay. For example, I settle myself with a Hyundai Creta. Example, I settle myself with that. So after I have settled myself with that particular model, then I commit to a decision. And no matter what people say to me, this would have been a better choice, because I have decided to buy a Hyundai Creta for myself, I commit to a decision and follow through. So basically, these are the 6 C's of decision making which we follow. That is, construct a clear picture. So basically what is most important is we must know what we want to do. किस चीज पे हमें decision लेना है, that is most important. Second is to compile a list of requirements. For the 15 lakh car example I gave, whether it should be petrol vehicle, diesel vehicle, 5-window vehicle, manual or automatic, these are all the requirements which I need. Collect information or alternative, compare alternatives, consider what might go wrong. जो भी हमने alternative लिया है, which one is not right for me, and lastly, commit to a decision and follow through it. These are basically the 6 C's of decision making. Fine. Anybody wants to ask anything regarding this? Okay, let's move again. Move. Now we will discuss the orientation of the decision. Okay. So now what the word orientation means? Orientation means a basic feeling or a belief that somebody has about something. The kind of a feeling or a belief that someone has about something, that is known as orientation. Now, what the word orientation of the decision means? What does? So the orientation of decision is based on 3 factors. Okay. So next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. The first orientation is based on intuition. Second is based on rationality. And the third is based on bounded rationality. Okay. So first, let's discuss the first one, based on rationality, based on intuition. Now, the word intuition is a feeling or the understanding. It is a feeling or the understanding which makes you believe that something is true without being able to explain. कभी-कभी हम किसी चीज को we are not able to explain, we are not able to give a logical reason why we are feeling in this way. Popular in a very layman language, we call it as a dil ki awaaz, isn't it? We call it or the gut feeling which you have. Now, most of the people have this approach. Whenever we have to decide, नहीं मेरा दिल कह रहा है यही चीज सही होगी, when there's a fight between the brain and the heart. Most of the people have this approach. Like for example, when we go for a shopping and I see a dress, so intuitively I can imagine myself, oh, this color would look good on me, or I would look good in this dress. So without analyzing any kinds of facts and figures, I take an intuitive decision that this dress would look good on me. So this is a decision which is based on intuition. You listen to your heart. It's like gut thing you have. Now, the question comes, where does this intuition come from? The first thing is the experience. From where does it come from? It is from the experience. Now, experience is, the more the experience you have in a certain field, the easier it is for you to make a decision. For example, if I have a lot of yellow color in my wardrobe, and over time, my experience, I know yellow color suits me. Usually people give me compliment when I wear a yellow color. So whenever I see a yellow dress, because experience says that yellow color suits me, intuitively I would know that this dress also put on me. The experience, the more it is easier for us to make a decision, because in past life, in the past experience, we have this decision. Now, we are more likely to choose actions similar to one that brought a positive result in the past. Now, I'll you with an example. A study was done in a college where about 50 undergraduate students were taken and had to give their opinion regarding this what you designer handbag. Whether a designer handbag was a real one or was it a counterfeit one? So what was the research done? Around 50 students selected, and 50 students were randomly divided into two groups. One was an analytical group and the other one was an intuitive group. Now, the intuitive group was given the instruction that without even touching the handbag, they have to decide it whether that handbag was of a designer handbag or it was a counterfeit, just on the basis of the gut feeling. And the analytical group was given the instruction, though they don't have to touch the bag, yet they should analyze from all aspects and then take a decision that that handbag was of a designer handbag or it was a counterfeit. So what was found is the students in the students in the intuitive group who had to take the decision just on the basis of their experience. It was found that the students who really owned a designer handbag, maybe of a Louis Vuitton or a Gucci handbag, the students who had owned that handbag previously, they were able to answer. They were able to give the answer that that handbag was a true one or it was a copy of the handbag, because those students had the experience. They had the first-hand experience. Because of their experience, their intuition, their gut feeling was strong. Okay. Now the second part from where does the intuition come from is on the basis of the affection. Affection is related to our emotion. Now I'll explain it to you with an example. For example, my favorite film star is Salman Khan. Okay. Now a new movie of Salman Khan comes and I have a positive emotion attached to Salman Khan. So I won't wait for the critical review of the movie. I won't even wait, even if the people say that the movie is a super flop, because I have an emotion attached towards that particular film star. I would go to the theater, watch the movie and enjoy. So intuition is when you don't see the reality, when you don't see the facts and the figures, you just work upon what your heart says. So the second aspect of intuition is the affection. The third aspect of intuition is from where does the intuition comes. It is a values in the ethics. Your values and ethics. Values and ethics act as a guideline for making decision. For example, As a teacher, we all have to evaluate and assess students in internal assessments. You all know that, isn't it? We have to evaluate the students in the for internal assessment. So a teacher would go by the ethics and evaluate students on his actual performance and not on the performance of his classroom behavior. No matter how good or bad the behavior of the child is in the classroom, the teacher evaluates the child on his present performance and then gives marks. And the third is a subconscious. From where does intuition come from? It is the subconscious. Subconscious is that somewhere we have received some information which has deep impact on our mind. Have you heard about the word prejudice? Prejudice is we have not experienced the situation personally, but we got some information regarding it from some other people. So what we have done is, because of received information, we take the decisions accordingly. But we make decision on the basis of the information we have received from others. This is known as subconscious. Okay, so these are the four bases from which intuition comes. First was the experience. Second was the affection. Third was values and ethics. And fourth was subconscious. Subconscious is exactly quite similar to the prejudice. Now, second type of orientation of decision is based on rationality, algorithm, where we follow sequential order, where we have to follow certain steps, or jahan pe the what we say is a success, the rate of success is highest in the case of rationality. By rationality, we mean decisions based on logic and fact. We have certain choices, we collect data, and then make a decision. Decisions based on intuition are not always possible. Is it all? For example, say in the class 11th, when you wanted to opt for a subject, did you make a intuitive decision? कि मुझे ऐसा लगता है मुझे science लेनी चाहिए, I'll become a good doctor. I can imagine myself a good doctor. No, you take a decision which are based on facts and logic. You evaluate your performances in the subject of science or maths instead, or you go for an aptitude test and then you take a decision. That is rationality. So when we think about the problem from all aspects, all the possible alternatives, then we use rational based decision making. For example, I want to buy a new phone, and with my present phone, I'm facing some issues. Maybe the storage capacity or the camera quality is not good. So what I do is I check all the possible solutions right now in the market under my budget, and I'll try to see the features, the real problem which I'm facing right now, which can be corrected in the new phone which I'm going to buy. So I collect all the possible facts and the figures, and then I decide which will be the best phone for me to buy. So it is somewhat related to algorithm. The third method is based on bounded rationality. Every time we don't have the time to go through all the sequential order, all that systematic approach, collect all the facts and the figures, and then take a decision. So what we do is the first come, first service. That is decision based on bounded rationality. Here, the word is bounded rationality, the first come, first service. Okay, so because we are, this orientation highlights the human ability to make optimal decision. Now, we are bounded by certain limitation. What are the limitation? Time constraint is there. Every time we don't have the time to follow all the steps. Ability to absorb information. Everybody has a limited capacity. Everybody has a limited ability to absorb the information, or we may be driven to suboptimal decision by emotions and mood. Okay, I'll explain it to you with an example. Suppose there is an individual named XYZ. Now, XYZ needs to change a job. Okay, now job A is there. Now, where he has to travel 100 kilometers every day, salary is good, fine. Now, then he has an option B, where he has to travel 50 kilometers, salary is less. Now, XYZ is in real need of a financial crunches are there in his life, and he really needs a good job to overcome those financial crunches. So what does A do? What does XYZ do? He chooses option A, where he has to travel 100 kilometers every day and the salary is good. After some time, he realizes that their job C is also there in the market, where he has to travel 25 kilometers every day, and yet the salary is good. So would he regret? No, he won't, because job A came in his life when he needed the job so desperately, when he needed the money so desperately, and job A provided him that. The first come, first service. This is known as bounded rationality. So usually, whenever we take a decision, we take into account all these factors: intuition, rationality, and bounded rationality. When the situations are of a utmost important to us, then we usually take the rationality-based decision or the bounded rationality-based decision. Many a time we take the intuitive decision also. Here, I would like to show you a small video. Sir, next slide, please. So next slide, the video, I want these people to show this video. Yeah. Is it not playing? I think there is some problem with the video. The video is not able. No issues. I'll explain it to you, what I wanted to show you through a video. Actually, this video was a clipping from the 2007 T20 World Cup, when India played against Pakistan, when Dhoni had to take a very important decision as to who will bowl the last over. He had two options, Harbhajan Singh and Sharma. Fine. Now, logic and facts said that Dhoni should have opted for Harbhajan Singh because he had a lot of experience regarding the bowling, but Dhoni opted for Sharma, who was a newcomer at that time. So what I want to explain it to here through this video, what I wanted you people to see was, if Dhoni would have followed rationality, he would have chosen Harbhajan Singh. But then he used his intuition and bounded rationality, and then he took this decision. I wanted you people to see this video, but somehow these are the cons of online things actually. So next slide show kar dijiye. Please show the next slide. So now we will discuss almost at the end of the lecture, we'll discuss the process of decision making. These are the processes of decision making. First is the identification of the problem, which we discussed in the earlier half of the lecture also, where what we have to do is we need to identify the problem, which we discussed in the earlier half of the lecture. The problem won't say, pick me up. You have to decide that this is a problem and this is a very subjective way. What might be a problem for me cannot be a problem for you. Okay, but if the problem is personal, decision making becomes very easy because here only I am at the risk. But if there are many people involved, and because of my decision making they are going to suffer. For example, if I am the only earning member in my family, and if I then I won't take up a risk of changing my job abruptly because of my decision. Many people life will got affected. But if I'm but for example, if I'm the only one because of whom nobody would be get affected by the decision, then I can take the decision very easily. So what I'm explaining here is all the decisions have consequences. Consequences can be positive, consequences can be negative, consequences can be good, or consequences can be bad. So we should be ready to save to have to know what the consequences will be of our decision. So after we have identified the problem, after we have identified it, really the problem persists, we should decide the identification of the decision criteria. Now, by the decision criteria and principles are the guidelines or requirements that are used to make a decision. Decision criteria can be quality, efficiency, style, return on investment, reliability, and consistency. I'll explain it with your example, the process of decision making. It'll be easier for you to understand. So on the basis of the selected criteria, we can make a decision. Once we have identified the decision criteria, we allocate certain weights. We allocate weights to the criteria. We rate them on a scale of 0 to 10, which criteria is the best, second best, third best, and so on. And then after allocating weights to the criteria, we develop certain alternatives. After alternatives and then developing alternatives, we analyze those alternatives. After analyzing, we select, implement, and then evaluate whether the alternative was the best one or the not. Now, when we come at the selection of the selection of the alternative depends upon three criteria. It is the experience, experimentation, and research and analysis. Now, I'll give you an example which will help you to understand the process of decision making. Now, for example, there is a man called Arun. Okay, Arun wants to leave his job, private banking job, and shift to another job. See, I'll specify the problem. Arun wants to leave his private banking job and shift to another job. Arun is single, 26 years old, completed his MBA from a B category college and joined his job 2 years back. Okay. So solving this problem, we'll take the process one by one. Problem identification kya hai is case ke andar? So the problem in this case is Arun wants to leave the job, and now why he wants to leave the job? Identification of the problem ho gaya. Arun wants to leave the job. Now, identification of the decision criteria. Yahan pe maybe the job is monotonous or boring. He's facing some other issue with the authority. Maybe that lot of traveling time is there. He has lost all the interest in the banking job. Maybe it's very hectic. There can be n number of reasons why he wants to leave the job. Secondly, so we have identified the problem. Identified the problem and the causes of the problem, why he wants to leave the job. Now, identification of the decision criteria. Okay, so Arun will decide for himself what criteria he wants to change in his job. Job security, salary hike, reallocation, change in the job profile. What things he wants to change in the job. So these are the decision criteria he will choose. Thirdly, he will give some weight to these criteria. For example, for the job security, he will give 10 on 10. For salary hike, he'll give 10 on 9. For interest, he can give 8. For reallocating, he may give 3 or 4. Or for the change in the job profile, because it's a lot of monotonous or boring to him, he might give 9 weight to the criteria. Then he starts developing alternatives. So now what Arun does is, Arun starts sending his profile. What he do is, he starts applying for job on various online platforms. He gives CVs to various consultancies, or he sends a resume to his various friends who are working in various other firms. So now develop alternative. By doing all these things, there are 3 alternatives which he receives. One is of a business associate in a firm. Second, he gets a job of a faculty in a private college. And third is of a manager in a 4-star hotel. So these are the alternatives which he get. Now he analyzes all these alternatives, on the basis of the decision criteria and the weight to the criteria which he gave. For example, the highest weight was to the job security, for the interest. So in all these 3 criteria, what he sees is that the business associate is a job which is providing him job security, salary hike is there, change in the job profile is also there. So looking at all these things, looking at all these processes, he might choose the job of a business associate or faculty, or what was the other one? Of the manager in a 4-star hotel, because maybe in the criteria, the glamour is involved in the hotel job. So he might opt for the hotel job. So these are the processes of the decision making. Anybody wants to ask? Anything? Okay, so let's come up to the last topic of my lecture today. That is the decision-making techniques. The different kind of decision-making techniques. Next slide, sir. Maybe he'll put the slide after that. So basically the decision-making techniques are, the first technique is standard agenda. So what do we mean by the standard agenda? Where when we follow all the following steps which we discussed before. That is a problem identification, establishing decision criteria, generate alternatives, evaluate the alternative, choose the best alternative, implement the decision, and evaluate the decision. These were all the agenda, standard agenda process. Okay, then the second technique of the decision-making technique is a brainstorming. Brainstorming, जैसे समुद्र मंथन होता है, we get विचार मंथन. आप अपने mind से, there are a lot of things are coming up, a lot of generating of ideas. So brainstorming is a popular technique, decision-making technique that is used for generating of ideas. Brainstorming allows people to think more freely without fear of judgment. Brainstorming encourages an open, ongoing collaboration to solve problems and generate innovative ideas, to help them to generate a large number of ideas quickly. A large number of ideas can be generated in a short span of time. The third is a nominal group technique. Now, what is a nominal? What is a nominal group technique says is this procedure. The procedures above, that is a standard group procedure and the brainstorming, require that the group members should be vocal. But when some group members think better in silence, when all or some of the group members are new to the team, it can be seen that the group is not able to generate quantity of ideas. Maybe when the issue is controversial, in this case, nominal group technique is used. Now, what is the procedure of the nominal group technique? In this case, the facilitator welcomes the participant and explains to them the purpose of the meeting. Okay, now what the second step is silent generation of ideas. The facilitator provides each participant with a sheet of paper with a question and asks them to write down all the ideas. Participants are asked to discuss and consult. Thirdly, the facilitator invites participants to share the ideas. For a stop, facilitator record each idea. Then whomsoever participant want to speak, invited to speak, he gives verbal explanation for further details about any of the ideas. Then the voting and the ranking take place, discussion of the preliminary voting takes place, and finally the judgment takes place. So this is the nominal group technique. The next technique is a survey. Is a simple survey. You give a questionnaire is distributed in which all the people have to give their opinions regarding it. The majority wins, and then the decision takes place. Then comes the Delphi method, which is the most technical method. This method assumes that group judgment are more valid than individual judgment. I repeat it again. The group judgment are more valid than individual judgment. First, the group facilitators select a group of experts based on the topic being examined. According to the topic, the experts are selected. Once all the participants are confirmed, each member of the group is sent a questionnaire with instructions to comment on each topic. Okay, here the physical presence of all the members is not essential that everybody should be at a single place. This can be done online or at the comfort of the offices or anywhere. Okay. Responses of the panelists are anonymous. They don't have to write their name. The questionnaires are returned to the facilitator who groups the comment. A copy of compiled comments are sent to each. All the comments are compiled, and then the facilitator again sends to all the participants along with the opportunity to comment further. At the end of each comment session, all questions are returned to the facilitator to stop the questionnaire and can be repeated as many times as possible unless the final decision is there. So what is the most technical thing in this Delphi method is the participant need not see the face of each other, and their names are anonymous. Nobody knows what kind of opinion is given by the other person. And the lastly, which we talk about is a devil's advocacy. Devil's advocacy is just like the critic. जो film के critics होते हैं, the group decides a critic. So the devil's advocacy decision-making technique is where an individual in the group is allowed to become the critic in the proposed decision. He tries to explain all the flaws, all the things which are of the particular thing. This decision helps the group to prevent groupthink. Now, groupthink is when the group is thinking in the extremities. All the people are going in all the people are saying yes, or all the people are saying no. It prevents a groupthink and increases the chance of high quality decision. By group, I mean that all the decisions are in extreme position, that the majority of the people are in favor, while the majority of the people are not in favor. The person who plays a role of the critic works to point out all the flaws and risks with an option under consideration. So these were the decision-making technique which I wanted to discuss. And lastly, I'll take just about 2 minutes to say that how we decide the decision technique depends upon the group, depends upon the way the group communicates with each other. How, most importantly, the group members must agree to use a procedure for the benefit of the group. With this, I end my presentation for today. I hope I'm able to make you understand a small bit of problem solving and decision making. If anybody wants to ask anything, question, are most welcome.
Ma'am, would you give any activity for us to solve?
Activity, actually, sir, I'll send you the Google form afterwards. I wanted you people to do the problem solving and the decision making activity, but that was not possible actually. I'll send it the Google form later on.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. If anything, anybody would like to ask? I hope you people all enjoyed the session, though it was a little problem solving and decision making. It's quite a technical one, but I tried my level best to make it through examples so that you would understand the intricacies of it. Okay, thank you so much. Aradha, I'll end my session.
Yes, so that was a very wonderful and very informative session that we have had today with Dr. Arpita Kackar, madam. So I think all the participants have benefited from this intensive session that we have had. So much to learn about, so much takeaway, and so much to know about problem solving and decision making. That was really a wonderful session, madam. So I thank you heartily for giving us this valuable time of yours and dedicating this entire session, your time to conduct this session and giving us your valuable knowledge. So I express my gratitude on behalf of the organizing committee, as well as on behalf of all the participants present here today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome.